Hello plant people, Nora the Leca Queen here. Thank you for joining me on my channel today. Today I am going to be talking about how I move a plant from soil to leca. So I've had a few questions from a lot of people about how I actually get my plants to live in leca. Do I have them as cuttings and put them into leca because they've been living in water, or do I have them from soil straight to leca? So I do both things actually, but the majority of what I do is moving a plant from soil to leca. So I've got this Hoya here that I got last weekend actually. So she's been quarantining, which in Nora terms means I haven't gotten around to moving her from soil to leca. So this was really good that this question came up, and I actually had a plant that I could use as an example. So I've got this gorgeous Hoya Erythrina. Look at her. Isn't she just, those leaves are just amazing. You know, again, you will all know how I love a splashy Hoya, and they're huge, and she is going to be magnificent. Now, I need to move her from soil to leca. I've got another Hoya here. This is a Pubicalyx splash. That's a Hoya Pubicalyx. Look at how splashy that is as well. I did say to you, I am a sucker for a splashy Hoya. So this Hoya I've had for a couple of months, and I transitioned her to leca the minute I got her. So she's living in leca. That's the leca there. And you can see some of the roots coming through there. She's doing really, really well. There's some new growth coming through there. So it's safe to say, and you know, this vine wasn't there when I got her. So it's safe to say that this has been a successful transition, and it's really directly from the soil straight to the leca. So I don't do anything else with Hoyas. I just take the soil off and whack it into leca. So when I put it into leca, when I put my plant into leca, this is the kind of setup that I've got. This is my semi-hydroponic setup. I have the plant living in a grower's pot, and the grower's pot has these holes. So I actually make these pots myself. If you haven't seen the video that shows how I make the pots, click on the information tab above, and that'll take you directly to that. I have this pot which is very well ventilated, and this is where the leca is, and this is where the plant is, and I have that sitting in a cache pot. This is the cache pot. Now, what is in this cache pot? This cache pot has got the nutrient solution that the plant is going to feed on. Okay, so I've got my Foliage Focus growth technology nutrient solution in there, and that plant then sits in there. And of course, leca works by capillary action. So that nutrient solution that's in there is going to be in contact with the leca that's at the bottom of the pot, right? So this leca here is in contact with the nutrient solution, and that by capillary action is going to have that nutrient solution going all the way up. So not just the water, that includes the nutrients that are diluted in the water, and that's how your plant lives, and it's happy and healthy. What I do with my cache, so because I actually have a lot of plants. I have probably in excess of 200 plants. So I have to be a bit economical in how I do things, because things start to become very expensive very quickly. So this is my cache pot, and my cache pot is really just a plastic container. So it's something like that. So this is actually a lot more expensive. This is not what I usually use. This is a pot liner and costs a bit more. What I usually get is takeaway food containers, or just anything that's round, but usually takeaway food containers. And I get those fairly cheap from like $2 shops. And I get like a pack of 6 or a pack of 8. And then what I do is I cover them up with some black tape, or whatever tape you've got. I like to have a black tape. And what that does is it actually prevents light from hitting the nutrient solution. And when that doesn't happen, the algae that's around doesn't get a chance to bloom. So I prevent algae growth in my semi-hydroponic setups by covering my cache pots. What other people do is they get, a very pretty decorative pot. So this is my variegated peace lily, and she is living inside an opaque ceramic pot. So she's living in Leca as well, and I'll try and pull out the pot. That is the pot. So you can see she's really happy. She's roots there, and that's the cache pot. I'm just about to refill this one, hence there isn't any liquid in there because I was just cleaning that up. But that is what that looks like. So that, because it's opaque, doesn't allow the light to go to the nutrient solution, and so the algae doesn't bloom. So this is one way of doing it, which for me would be the expensive way because I couldn't get ceramic pots for all my plants. And so this is what I do. And then of course, when I want to take photographs and things like that, I then just get that one plant, put it in the lovely ceramic pot so it looks pretty for the photos. But otherwise, this is generally how my plants live. They live in this dark cache pot with the grower's pot inside. So that's pretty much what my semi-hydroponic setup is. But today, what I'm going to show you is how I transfer this Hoya into this grower's pot and have it living in Leca. That's what we're going to do. So let's get right to it. So I've said in my previous video, I like to have gloves on just to be safe. Dealing with soil, there's all sorts of things in the soil. So I like to have gloves on, just cheap kitchen gloves, and that's that. So I grab my Hoya, and I've got that. You can have a potting tarp, anything that'll contain your soil. And I'm just going to take that little clip off and take that tag off. And what I will do is gently squeeze that pot. Gently squeezing just to release that soil and try and get the plant out. So I'm just going to flip it over. See, I've got the plant between my thumb and my fingers just so it's not plopping straight out. And I'm squeezing as I do that. And oop, there we go. There's the plant. And I just start to gently, very, very gently, start taking the soil off the roots. So sometimes some plants have got very, very delicate roots. So you really have to be careful in how you take the organic matter off the roots. So the objective here is to get everything that you can off the roots. Oh, hang on, this is interesting. I could potentially have two plants here. So, I don't know. Do I have two plants? Do I have one? I'll probably just have the one. A, to save space, but B, just so it's nice and bushy. So I'm just very gently rubbing the roots. So I've got them between my thumb and my finger and just ever so gently just trying to get any of the organic matter off. So you've got things like bark in there, and I'm guessing that's just to make the medium porous. And so I think for this particular one, that is the best I can do for now. So that's what that looks like with most of the organic matter off, just using my hands. So I'm going to get to this one next. So just again, very, very gently. This has to be a gentle exercise because you do not want to damage those roots. So I'll talk about another method that some people use. Some people actually believe in taking all the roots off and having the plant literally reroot. I don't use this method. In theory, it should work, but I found that doing it this way works as well. So, for me, it's a case of if it ain't broken, don't fix it. So, but by all means, it's something I actually will try one day, because I mean, with plant care, I very much believe that you just have to try something. Try something, you never know, you might like it, you might find it works for you. That's the only way to know what works, to try it. So that's what that one looks like, with most of the organic matter off. So that's the two of them there. So what I will now do is go and take these to a sink and just wash that off. And when I say to a sink, I actually mean outside. I generally try not to wash things in the sink, just so my plumbing is preserved and so my husband doesn't, freak out. But yeah, so that's what I do. I'm going to wash that outside, and I will come back and show you what those roots look like. One of the things I really like about transitioning a plant from soil to leca is you have this opportunity of just washing the whole plant. So I've been outside and I washed the leaves, washed the roots, and that's what that looks like. That's what those roots look like with the organic matter off. And so if there's any, wayward pests that happen to be living on the plant, they all just get washed off, and that plant is just like new. So I really like just giving the plant a good clean rinse. So those are my roots. They are ready to go into leca. So we're going to talk about the leca for a second. So this is the leca we're going to use for this plant. This leca is Italian leca, and leca is simply nothing but clay, which has been heated to a very high temperature in a rotary kiln, and it's been going around and around and around, and hence that shape. And that's what that looks like. It's just clay balls. That's what leca is, clay balls. And what I like about this particular leca is it doesn't give as much of a residue as the other leca that you would probably know, the red or brown balls. This one I really like. So when you look in the reservoir after a while, you don't see as much residue as you see with the other clay balls. So I really like it. So I put all my very, very special plants in this. So that's what we're going to use. So this leca, when you get your leca from the hydroponics shop or wherever it is that you get it, it's probably not been washed. So it's probably got all that clay dust on it, so that needs to be washed. You wash that as many times as you can to get it as clean as you can. It's never going to be 100% clean, because of course it's made out of clay and the clay will constantly be sloughing off. So get it as clean as you can. What I do with my leca is I soak it. I soak this leca in water or a nutrient solution for not less than 24 hours. I like to do that with my leca because then the leca is primed. It is ready to receive those roots, because remember, like we said, it's all capillary action. So if your leca is dry, there's no way your roots are actually going to receive that water in the way that they should, because your leca actually needs to absorb water first. So what I do is I soak my leca in that solution, and that is what I use for my plants that I'm moving from soil to leca. I use growth technology Clonex clone solution. So this really helps with plant shock, and it also actually feeds the cutting, or it feeds the plant. So I know some people actually, when they're transitioning, don't put any nutrients with the plant until after they get roots or after some time. I don't know, but I'm of the school that, as long as a plant exists, it needs to eat, and everything survives using energy, and that energy is only provided if they've got everything they need in order to make what the plant needs. So I always feed my plants. So what this growth technology Clonex clone solution will do is help against the shock, because you can imagine it's quite a shock. My poor plant's been living in soil, minding its own business, and here I come, take the soil off, wash everything off. It's probably cold. It's like, what the hell is going on? And then I whack it into this leca. Roots are just thinking, where's our source of water? Where's our source of nutrients? Because remember, leca actually does not have any nutrients in it. It's just clay. There's nothing there. It's not feeding the plant at all. So if you don't provide any nutrients to your plants living in leca, you're effectively starving them. So I use that. It feeds the plant. It helps against root shock. But then what I also do is, because I soak my leca in that stuff is ready to go. And the minute it hits my plant, the minute my plant touches it, it's like, oh, okay, this is not too bad. So that's what I do. It's worked for me. It's worked for my 200 plus plants. So again, like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's how I roll. So we are now going to pot up this baby. I will bring you closer so you can see what I'm doing. I'll move this out of the way so you can see. So I've got my pot here. Again, this is my ventilated pot. Link above to see how I do that. I will grab my leca and I am putting in this about a third. I am topping it up to about a third of the way. So just about that much. That's about a third. And the reason this is important is because we want the roots to be sitting on top of the leca. We don't want those roots to have any direct contact with the nutrient solution, especially at this stage, because these roots are not water roots. They've grown up in soil. They don't know how to be wet. So if you expose those roots to that nutrient solution immediately, they are going to rot and your plant will die. So this is a very, very important step. You need to get that leca up there. And then, actually what I like to do is, if a plant has got this, I just whack that in there as well. Because it's very important to have your labels. Because trust me, once you have many, many plants, you start to forget their names. And it's important to know their names. So I get my plant and I put it very gently on top of the leca. So if you can, you want to get the roots to be spread out. You're not just putting it in one heap. Spread them out across the leca. So I'll get this one as well, and I'll put that one in as well. And then what I will start to do is I will put the leca in. Okay, I will put the leca in there and holding on to my plants, making sure that the position is good. I've got my leca there. And I just top that up and make sure that my roots are covered, there's no dead spaces, my plant is happy, and there. That is my plant that I have now potted up in leca. So I could actually, there's my little clip. I'll find my little clip and clip that on. Must have lost it somewhere. So anyway, that's that. Okay, so that's the first stage. We've got our plant in leca. So I now have my plant in the pot. Okay, so that's stage one. I now need to get the cache pot and put the plant in the cache pot. So again, I normally wouldn't be using a cache pot that's clear because I don't want my plant to have an algae boom. I would be using one that's covered, but I'm using this clear one just to demonstrate to you the level at which you're going to put your nutrient solution. So I'll bring you closer so you can see how I do that. So this is my plant. This is my cache pot. And remember, we put the roots at least about a third of the way up the pot. So this is some solution that I mixed earlier, and I am now going to start putting that in the cache pot. So I'm going to make sure that it is just below a third of the pot, which is what it is right now. So when I pick that up, you can see that that is just underneath the level of a third. Okay? Now, obviously, I mean, I'm not picking up the pot, filling the cache pot and putting the pot in, because as you remember from simple physics, displacement. So once I put that in, the level of the nutrient solution is going to rise. So you always kind of want to do this with the pot inside, with the grower's pot inside, so you can tell the levels. But of course, when you've been doing it a few times, maybe you can learn how to estimate. But for now, I think this is an easier way of doing it. So this plant is now going to sit in this cache pot. So I've put my plant in my cache pot, and I have made sure that the level of that nutrient solution is below the 1/3 mark of the grower's pot, because we know that above that 1/3 mark is where our roots are. We don't want our roots touching this nutrient solution. I will then put my plant in a nice warm spot with lots of bright sun, and I'll just keep monitoring. Once the levels of that is low, I will then top it up. And, maybe once a fortnight or something, I will take this grower's pot out, put that over there, take that, whatever's in there, throw that out, rinse it out. Make sure it's nice and clean, get fresh nutrient solution, and I will put my plant back. And eventually what you will begin to see is those roots growing down into the nutrient solution. And at that point that you know that if your plant is looking well and the roots are growing well, that's been a successful transition. And at that point, there's no need to worry about the roots that are in there touching the nutrient solution, because those are now water roots. They're used to that environment and they will not rot, and they're fine. So that is how I do a basic soil to leca transfer. Yeah, that's my little plant, and in a few months' time, I'll let you know how she's going and we'll have a look. Thank you very much for watching. Do not forget to share, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.